Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Jennifer Reid, and I'm the director of Bridgewater State University Senior College. Welcome to our special session today called Ireland Unveiled. And the hope today is that we will spend some more time talking specifically about our upcoming trip to Ireland, both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland that we have planned departing on May 20th, 2025 for 7 nights, returning on May 28th, 2025. So today we will go through the agenda or the itinerary for the trip. And if anyone has any questions along the way, they're welcome to jump in and ask. So this trip is open to anyone that's a friend of our senior college here at Bridgewater State, or a friend of the community, alumni. Anyone really is invited to come along. We're thrilled to see that bookings have already been coming in, and we have a fun group so far of people that are part of our community, and we're really looking forward to others joining in as well. So we'll just jump into it. I'm here today with my co-host, Paul. So Paul, do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself real quick, and then we'll dive into the PowerPoint?
Sure. Hi, welcome to some faces that were here last week. Good to see you all again. And some new faces and some faces I recognize from my class last year. So, as I said last week, those that were at the event, I'm very excited about this trip, full of anticipation, looking forward to it immensely. I think we're going to have, just a wonderful, enriching experience learning about Ireland. And I think there's no substitute for being in the place, being there. I know Jen has done this before, and I'm just very, very excited. I'm looking forward to any comments, questions, any concerns you might have today. We're here to just answer those, and it's an open forum here. So thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so luckily we have Paul as one of the hosts on the trip. I will be the other host or chaperone on the trip. And this will be my 5th time in Ireland. It is my favorite place on earth. So I'm really excited to meld my work life with something that I'm really passionate about in my personal life, which is travel, especially to Ireland. I live on Cape Cod, and I always tell people that Ireland makes Cape Cod look ugly. That's how beautiful it is. I mean, it really is a spectacularly beautiful place. So I'm really excited that we're at this point that we can talk about our upcoming trip. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you just give me one moment, here we go. Okay, slideshow. Okay, here we go. And thanks to Kara, who put together this beautiful PowerPoint for us. Kara Marks, who works in my office. Thank you, Kara. So here we have our opening slide. Anyone want to take a guess as to what's pictured here on the slide?
Giant causeway.
Yes, the giant causeway. Paul, can you tell us the what exactly this formation is? I know you.
Yeah, no, it's really a volcanic eruption. I mean, I think there's other similar sites like this in the world in some places, but this is very unique the way it's just been juts out there on the coast of the top of the north of Ireland, the Giant's Causeway. And of course, like everything in Ireland, there's a legend about Finn McCool. A giant was running, if I get this right, he was running away from Ireland, and all these big rocks were put for him for his big feet. So they're all flat. You can see for him to escape and get to Scotland. That's the myth, and you can get more. We'll talk more about the myth of that. But it's just quite a unique geographical art formation, really, and it's obviously it's a very, very famous site, a popular site to come and see in Ireland. So we have an opportunity when we get there on the coach. You can either take the coach right down to it. Those that might be a wet day or you don't feel like walking. But if you can, it's a nice walk. It's a nice long walk down to the causeway, and there's a nice heritage center there as well, which you can see a little video about the history of this region of Ireland and the history of this landscape. So we'll have. I mean, I think it's a must when you go up the Antrim coast to experience and see. And it doesn't. And even if you've seen it before, I think it's still something that's very rewarding and amazing to see. And I love this photograph. It just really captures how beautiful and majestic it looks with that sun coming, and that's stunning. So I'm much looking forward to being all there together before we know where it's at. It'll be May. We'll be there.
Me too. There's a TV show, I don't know if you've seen it, Paul, called Bad Sisters, and it's set in
Yes.
Ireland, and they go swimming here in multiple scenes throughout the show. So I'm really excited. I've never been here before. Okay, so let's dive right in. Obviously, as I mentioned, we are so excited to have the host of the trip be Paul Pelan. Paul works here at the university, and the great thing is he's a senior college instructor. And so maybe, Paul, you want to just tell them about your upcoming course that's starting in a few weeks, your fall course.
Yeah, sure. I'm excited. We'll be starting the first Thursday in October each night for 6 weeks from 6:30 until 7:50. And we're starting with the famous book by James Joyce. It was his first book, really, Dubliners. It's a collection of short stories set around the turn of the 1900s. And each story, it starts with a very young person, and each story is a continuation of a theme about escape, getting away from Ireland, and a real theme that comes up again and again is this idea of paralysis, of being trapped, of being oppressed, and there's a lot of in the book, people who lead, you could describe as thwarted lives or small lives or sheltered lives. So James Joyce, in a way, I don't think he's being cruel to Dublin people, or at the time the authorities did not like the book because they saw it as being very critical of Irish nationalism, of Irish religion. But each story, just when we read the book, and if you've read it already, it's, just some lines that Joyce drops on you, just they're mind blowing, and I love reading it. And it culminates, and it's a very important I think it's important that you read the book sequentially, because that each story has a thread right to the longest story at the end called The Dead, which is almost a short novella. And I'm going to give you a link to the film that you can watch, directed. I've got a cold today, so I should have brought some water. I've got a little bit here. I'm suffering a wee bit today. I called in sick to my prison class. I felt awful letting my prisoners down, but as you can see, I don't feel good. I made the right call. So we will see the film The Dead after you've read the book, after you've read the story. And all the stories are about epiphanies, moments of realization, truth that people are seeing, and that's to really make them grow and evolve. So we'll start with Dubliners. We'll then move on to what I'll describe as perhaps an edgy book. I've just been actually listening all weekend on audio. You can get it from audible.com. Anne Enright's book, The Gathering. Yeah, it's probably a dark book. And it looks at family life, family secrets, dark secrets. It's about a woman reminiscing central character of her life, and something, I'm not going to ruin the book for you, but it happens to her brother. And she's looking back at her life, looking back at her grandparents, and how we got to where we're at today. In fact, really interesting writing. And again, it's about what comes. For me, listening to the book, it's really about using my time, because I can be walking the dog or driving the car. So I've read 11 chapters this weekend. Realistically, I wouldn't have the time to read 11 chapters one weekend, given the demands I have in my life. So that's an audio, and then the final book is Amongst Women by John McGahern, a shorter book, and that's probably available in audio, but I've actually got it out of the Boston Public Library on CDs, and Dubliners I got on CDs out of the Minuteman Library. So if you're the person that maybe likes to read and or listen to the book, they're all available. And John McGahern's book, contemporary book. Well, it's in the probably 40s or 50s, set in rural Ireland, Leitrim, where he's from. Wonderful writing, very much more of a pastoral book. The Gathering by Anne Wright is set in an urban environment, so I wanted to do something pastoral, really looking at the countryside of Ireland. It's where McGahern specialized and wrote about. So that's our 3 books, and I think whether you go on this course or not, I think they're going to enrich your appreciation and understanding of Ireland. And obviously, if you come in the course, having read those books, will give you that extra depth, I hope, and substance about our trip around Ireland.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, also I'll just give a plug because I did download some Ulysses by James Joyce on Libby, which I'm sure most of you here know what that is. So that's the free app that you can get from your local public library, where you can listen to all sorts of audiobooks as well. Okay, so let's see. So let's get right into the itinerary. So our plan is that we will depart on May 20th. We have booked our reservations on Aer Lingus. We have a direct flight. All of the air travel will be coordinated, or is coordinated and managed by the travel office here at Bridgewater State University. Some of you might know Greg DeMello. He's the director there in charge. And so he has negotiated the best possible rate for this direct flight. And so it's sort of a charter experience where the university will reserve all of our seats and make those accommodations. A frequently asked question I get is around people's wanting to perhaps extend the trip and go somewhere after. And that is a possibility for sure. If you wanted to book your own flight and meet us in Ireland, you could certainly do that, but then you would be responsible for meeting us, like, you know, where we're getting off and getting onto the charter bus. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you have any questions about how that might all work, then you could let me know. So there will be 2 payments for the trip, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So part of it will be paying the tour company directly, and then also paying the university for your flight. So we can get into those details a little bit as we go along, but there is some flexibility, which is nice. Okay, so up next is when we arrive in Dublin. So we'll luckily be, the nice thing, I've never done a group trip, so I'm so excited to have all of this wonderful sort of concierge level things that will be managed for us. We are working with CIE Tours. They are, I think, one of the longest standing top tour companies in Ireland, and the university has used them before for a trip in 2019 with our advancement office, and I'm told it was their favorite trip they ever had. So they had a lot of fun and really liked working with this company specifically. And they said the guide was phenomenal, that he added a lot of wonderful, beautiful local history and local color, and really made it quite fun. So we're excited. They've requested the same guide that they had back in 2019. So we'll see if we get him. We will stop and have breakfast at a local restaurant in there in Dublin, and then we will travel to, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. I'm going to let Paul pronounce where we'll visit.
Monster Voice. And you know what?
Voice.
And I'm excited. I haven't been to that, so this is the first for me, which is great. I'm very much looking forward to it. That's a real feature. I didn't, until I saw the itinerary, I thought we'd just be going to Belfast. So that was really nice that we've inserted that. That really gets our trip off to a great start historically, to see this site in it's up near Drogheda, about halfway through. We're still in the south of Ireland. How you'll notice you're crossing the border, you wouldn't really notice in a way, because during the conflict or the troubles, there was massive security, and very, it was armed soldiers, all camouflaged. It took a long time coming through, because that was a critical point. We'll just fly right through it. And signs will change a little bit in the north. You'll see, just the signs are there's a sign, and you'll start to see some British flags, perhaps, and lampposts and stuff coming up. But now, as part of the Good Friday Agreement, the Irish language was supposedly to be given equality with the English language. So a lot of signs are now bilingual in the north of Ireland, so in Irish and English, and that's only post the 2000s that happened. And when you get on the plane, if you haven't been to Ireland before, I find it relatively short flight, about 6 flights, and Aer Lingus has really good in-flight entertainment. So you could bring a book to read, but they've got a great selection of movies and TV shows and music. And I find that I watch 3 films. I know I watch 3 films in a row, 3 films and a land. So maybe some people like to sleep, but I like to watch and they have a good selection of contemporary films and old films. They've got it's a great inventory there when you're on Aer Lingus on the plane.
Yeah, I agree. I've flown Air
Yeah.
Lingus a few times, and one time I didn't, and I deeply regretted it. So we ended up in Iceland as a stopover. So it's really the only way to travel there. It's direct. And then I think I'm happy with our plan to sort of you have the day to, we have the comfort of the coach being together in that space and traveling up to Belfast, but it will force us all to stay awake. And anyone that travels to Europe knows that it is a good plan to not just like land in your hotel and then go to bed, because you will be, messing yourself up for the rest of the trip. So it's forcing us all to stay awake and drive up to Belfast, have dinner, and then we can, of course, turn in as early as suits you. I'm sure we'll all be exhausted after dinner, but I like that as a good plan. And so we are staying at the Fitzwilliam Hotel in Belfast, which is actually a lovely upgrade from our original accommodation when we were working with the tour company. It's a 5-star hotel. So I would encourage you to look that up. It looks absolutely beautiful. And so we'll have dinner there. And then, of course, the rest of the evening can be on your own. And like I said, I'm sure we'll be quite tired by that point. But after we're fully refreshed, here we are on Thursday, May 22nd. And this will be a day of Belfast sightseeing. So we'll start off in the morning with a walking tour of Belfast to see the Albert Memorial, Opera House, Corran Liquor Saloon, and other buildings in the historic city. And then, you can see we'll also be visiting the Peace Wall and Crumlin Road, Gaul. Is that how you say that, Paul?
It's jail, but it's Gaol, jail, Irish for jail. It should be Jaol, Gaol.
Got it.
Jail for Irish, yes, and that's yeah.
And then Paul, I know you and I have talked a little bit about another experience that maybe isn't listed in the official guide that we can do while we're in Belfast. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, like some of the things that you're thinking of that we might?
Yeah, well, just looking at that, we definitely see the Albert clock, which was a gift to Prince Albert, part of the monarchy in England, and also you'll see when we're there, it's got a slight lean, not as famous as a Leaning Tower of Pisa, but it's got a slight lean when it was designed, and the urban legend is because it used to be the brothel district of Belfast in the 1800s, and the myth is that it's leaning there because of all the prostitutes who leaned against it. Funny little story there. We definitely go Crumlin Road. I'm glad that they made that into a museum, because that was where a lot of the IRA and loyalist prisoners were imprisoned during the conflict, and there's now a distillery there as well. So I've never actually been to the jail. So I'm very excited. Every time I get to Belfast, I just never get. So it's going to be another first for me. We'll see Crumlin Road Jail, and on our tour we'll hear about famous or infamous, however you look at it, view it, an escape from IRA prisoners, because there was a tunnel. There is a tunnel underneath the street that leads the prison to what was the courthouse across the road, and they did a very how would you describe it, bravado escape, and they got out, and we'll hear details about that escape, how they got out of that. And sadly, across the road, you can the old courthouse, which is a majestic building, is in wreck and repair, and there's been talk about turning it into a museum or a hotel, and it's such a shame. And I hope someone will have the investment. You will see it beside the jail. This was the old courthouse that will be restored to its former glory, and we'll be able to use that again in Belfast. We will see the historic peace wall that separates the Protestants from the Catholics, now longer higher than the Berlin Wall, has been there for longer. So I hope that one day it's going to be a byproduct of our peace process in Ireland that will come down instead of separating the two communities. And we will go and visit that. What else we'll do? Well, you'll see the Crown Liquor Saloon. We'll go and visit that, the old Victorian bar, still lit, gas lit, little snugs inside it. Very classic Victorian bar, and it's right across the Fitzwilliam Hotel. You're lucky to be staying in that, very fortunate in that beautiful hotel, and it's right now. Belfast has just opened a new train and bus station, so we're gonna get right in to see. I haven't seen it. They were just completing it when I was back there in August, and then other places we'll see what we can get up to. We'll get a walking tour of West Belfast. We'll see what else we can get up to when we're there. It's got some ideas about where we might go and see and have a look around when we're there. So there's several art galleries. There's Belfast Ulster Museum, whether we get there or not, but there'll be a lot for us to cover in that time. And just to echo what Jennifer said, I totally recommend, to the best of your ability, try and stay awake and get on your normal body clock and go to bed maybe a wee bit earlier than you normally would, and then your body will adjust, rather than if you get in and just crash, you'll be all messed up, biologically. You'll wake up and it'll be 11 o'clock their time over there and 3 o'clock in the morning your time. So I try to stay up all day. It's a coffee. You'll drink. If you don't like tea, you might get to like an iron because it's an institution. Little cup of tea. You'll get a lot of offerings of tea everywhere. And tea is very good in Ireland. Always hot.
One thing I just heard you mention, I think, is the Irish snug, which you find in a pub. Does anyone know what a snug is in an Irish pub? And then I'll answer your question, Tom. Anyone? An Irish snug, and you find them in pubs. So you'll find out when you get there, but basically it was illegal for women to be seen drinking publicly, right, Paul? So
yes,
a lot of really old cool pubs in Ireland have these like little cubbies or little like private areas that only can seat like two people with like a little window, and that's where a woman could kind of sneak in privacy and sort of get a pint. Is that correct, Paul? Is that
That's right. And you're right. They're right there in the Crown Liquor Saloon. You can actually close the door. You're allowed to close the door and have your private conversation. People will go out for an evening and have a little group of friends or colleagues. It's very intimate to close the door. And used to be a bell. It used to be able to ring and the waiter would come. They don't use the bell anymore. But we don't have as much waiter service in bars as you've used in the States. You have to go to the bar to get a drink. And I see Tom has his hand up there.
Yeah,
with a question.
Go ahead, Tom.
I don't want to break up the flow, but I just want to
you're not.
know these walking tours. I know Rick Steves ranks his tours by endurance, whether they're a walk, a trot, or a sprint. Is this going to be 6 or 7 miles a day, 3 miles a day? Are we going to be jogging through? That's all.
Great question. I would say that our tour has been built for us specifically, and they're aware of the group and us being from the senior college at Bridgewater State. So I would say that they are designed with modifications that can be made and to be as accessible as possible, and I wouldn't say any of the walking tours that we do will be of great high endurance. And then the nice thing is we have the motor coach, so I think we can always make an accommodation as necessary to make sure that everyone is comfortable and not that there's not too much hard walking on our feet for these experiences.
Absolutely. I concur with that, Jen. And also, I think that comfortable walking shoes, make sure that won't be an excessive amount of walking, but just make sure you've got nice, comfortable walking shoes. That's important, I think.
I agree with that. And then the other piece that I would like to add is that, I love traditional Irish music. So, on the nights that we have off, if there's, I'm sure that there will be, groups that want to go off and do their own thing or have more low key, but I will be making sure we find the great local historic pubs where there's authentic, beautiful Irish traditional music. So if anyone wants to come along with me and Paul for those experiences, I'm sure we'll be having quite a lot of those experiences as we go along. Okay, so here we are now on Friday, May 23rd, and we're visiting the Titanic in Belfast to learn about the evolution of the Titanic. Paul, have you ever been to this experience?
Yeah, I've been twice, and every time I go, it's a place I could spend a long time in. I think it's very interactive. I think the way they've set up the museum and all the artifacts and the music they do, and just everything, the videos, it really gives you a real sense of the deep sense of Belfast as an important industrial town during the Industrial Revolution, because it was famous for there was linen mills in Belfast and made flax, and that was imported all over the world. And then it was the biggest a small city like Belfast had a natural port. It was the biggest shipbuilding industry at one point in the whole world, which is incredible. And the flax, we've all linen mills. We may get to see Conway Mill, which is now a great thriving community and arts centre. It's great that they've turned that into a place of education and right in the heart of West Belfast. But because it was mostly women who were employed and young women. It was very damp conditions, working with the cloth. So TB or tuberculosis was prominent in Belfast in the 1930s, because people lived in small, cramped conditions with just an outside toilet, didn't have the infrastructure of the health services that we needed. And my own grandfather, who I never met, died as a very young man from tuberculosis, and his son. So TB, it's been eradicated now in Ireland, but that was a byproduct of working in those Victorian mills. You can imagine a long hours, at big flax machines, and so you'll see a lot of that, and they've recreated that in the museum in the Titanic. So it's fascinating. I think you get a real sense of how that's a huge important, and all the romance and tragedy of the Titanic, and all the grandeur. I mean, it's phenomenal. I don't think the film does it, and I have watched the movie. I don't think the film does it justice, really. In some senses it does, but I think this is just such an immersive experience that I think it's really important to go to Belfast, to go to the Titanic Museum. Absolutely. And I brought friends from other countries who didn't know a lot about Ireland, and they were very moved by this, and as I'm sure, and I hope you will be too.
Thank you. I'm sure we will be.
Yeah.
And I'm excited too that it also gives us, the rest of the day and dinner on our own. So again, we can, be as creative as we want to be in small groups, traveling off to see other sites in Belfast and having those other experiences that I know folks will want to have as well. And then Saturday, here we go. So we're traveling north from Belfast to visit the Giant's Causeways, and then we're visiting Dunluce Castle, which is pictured here on the slide. Paul, have you ever been to this area?
Yeah. I love the Antrim Coast. We will go up the Antrim Coast Road. And the Antrim Coast Road is one of the longest stretches of scenic routes in Europe. And there was talk, Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister of England, he talked, but it was all talk. I think it was hot air, about building a bridge, a tunnel or bridge between Ireland and Scotland. And that idea was poo-pooed, and I'm totally against it, because if we link, this is right up the top of north of Ireland, we had a bridge going from Scotland, it will just be invaded and colonized by tourists, and you won't be able to move. And right now, there doesn't have that mass of people. So I would be against that. I think you can take a boat across from, like, a private boat, or there's ferries.
Yeah, you could do
ferry.
ferry.
Yeah. So we will go right up, and you can see these castles, strategically where they're placed in Ireland, because we were invaded from the Vikings, the Norman and English. You can see, and I just love walking around this castle. I mean, some castles are actually still you can go and stay a night in them. They're all catered. This one is the ruins, but you get a sense of, like, wow, people lived here and ate here and died here and were murdered here, and food was brought in. But look at it right on the edge of the landscape, and looking on a clear day, you'll see across to Scotland. But it was a good warning point when the invaders come in, because we had the advantage of being up high and throwing boiling whatever they might throw at the invaders, and so that you can see how strategic it was. And then that landscape around there is just, it's just so marvelous, and not full of, it's just all green, and I love that we're not really building masses of property up there, and I hope we don't. There's some golf courses. You'll see some golf. If you're into golf, it's ideal for golf up there. This landscape. Portrush is one of the most famous golf clubs in the world, and they had the Masters, or it was up in Portrush a number of years ago. So you'll see some golf courses along the way too.
Thanks, Paul. And
Yep.
then that evening we'll have dinner, an authentic Irish dinner at the Walled City Brewery. If you look that up online, the food looks absolutely delicious. It's modern. I think it's relatively new, and has a lot of custom taps that they make there at the brewery. So I think that will be a really fun experience as well, which leads us into Sunday. And so Sunday we'll be leaving Belfast. Wait, are we leaving on Sunday? Yeah, so we leave Belfast on Sunday morning and we head over to Derry. About how long is it, Paul, to get from?
I would say that would be, depends on the bus, but an hour and a half, not very long. Depends
Okay.
which way. Does it go to circulars route? And I would say, Jen, you may have seen it, but anybody that hasn't seen it yet, very much I recommend watching Derry Girls. It's a funny three-part, 3 seasons. Set in Derry in the 1980s against the backdrop of the Troubles, of girls at a school, like a high school, and one English boy who becomes their friend in it, and in a character of a nun. Very, very funny. The woman who wrote it was grew up in Derry, and I would just really give you a sense of Derry and the people of Derry. Derry's a smaller version of Belfast. It's almost like a big country town. Old Derry people might not like me saying that. Very different accents. You'll hear all the different regional accents in Derry, and Derry's a very strong accent, different than Belfast, softer, more sing-song. And definitely watch Derry Girls. I think it's very, very funny, and I might watch it all over again. So if you haven't seen Derry Girls, it's on Netflix, so it's accessible, and it'll make a lot more sense to you when you get to Derry. And Derry plays a pivotal role in the outbreak of the Troubles. We read a book last year, Reading in the Dark, our first book we read, our first novel. And Derry is right on the border between Donegal, the north and south of Ireland, and played a pivotal role in the outbreak of the Troubles in 1968-69. It was very much a divided city, majority Catholic, minority Protestant, but the Protestants run the city. And so all the fault lines of the Northern Ireland state all came to the fore in 1968-69 and culminated with, well, the rebirth of the IRA. And you'll learn about, we'll go to the museum, 13, later it was 14 people they were murdered. That's unequivocal by the British paratroopers in a peaceful protest in 1972 in Derry. So you'll learn about that as well. So I'm excited to go and see Derry. And the people are lovely, warm, great sense of humor, wonderful. You'll enjoy Derry.
Thanks, Paul. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to correct myself. So we would
Yeah.
have stayed the previous night at the Ashling Hotel. I'm sorry, at the Everglades Hotel in Derry. So we'll
Yeah.
have been there already. And so we'll leave the hotel that day because we'll be staying overnight in Dublin. So we'll have here we go. Oops, sorry, my clicker. There we go. So here we are now back in Dublin. And on Monday, May 26th, we'll have a full day of sightseeing that will include a visit to Trinity College to see the Book of Kells, the James Joyce Center. And then we'll also have the experience, and I'll let Paul talk about, of course, Trinity College and all things literary, but I can talk about the Guinness Storehouse and how fun that is. So Paul, you want to share a little bit about
Sure. Well,
the first part of the day there?
Yeah, Trinity College is right in the center of Dublin. It's beautiful where it's situated, and it's a great meeting people for place right at the gates of Trinity. That's where I always met people. I lived in Dublin, was fortunate for 4 years to live there, and my brother studied at Trinity College Dublin. Trinity College was a Protestant university originally. Catholics weren't admitted to it. That changed in the 1900s. And it's a centre. There's now another university in Dublin, University College Dublin. That's where James Joyce studied. But Trinity, I mean, it's a beautiful campus. And if you've ever seen the film Educating Rita, with Michael Caine in it. Michael Caine plays he's a professor, and he gets involved with a working class woman, a hairdresser, and then she gets educated, and he really gets jealous because she becomes educated. It's a great film. It was based on a play, Educating Rita, but it's all shot. It's set in England, but they used Trinity College for the forefront of the film. So if you ever want to see Educating Rita, I don't know if you know Mark O'Kine from England, London. You know Mark O'Kine, English actor. It's a brilliant film. Very funny, and And Trinity is just, full of history. We're going to see the famous Book of Kells, which the monks wrote. And yeah, it's a splendid university right in the center of Dublin. And, so I'm excited to go there with you all.
Thanks, Paul. I'm
Thank you.
excited for that too. I've never done that. I think I walked briefly one time, like through the campus, but I've never been in to see the Book of Kells. So I'm really excited for that. But I'm also really excited to experience the Guinness storehouse with all of you. It's the closest thing in Ireland to Disney. They really, it is a very modern, fun attraction. It's very professionally done and it's beautiful. You get to go to the top of the storehouse and have a pint, and it has an incredible view of the city. So that will be a really fun experience for us to have together as well. And then the next day, just to keeping with the theme of the libations, we'll be visiting the Jameson distillery and have a whiskey tasting. And I will say, I did this on my last trip and I had, I like a Jameson and ginger ale. I mean, that's my extent of my appreciation of Jameson, but I really came to appreciate it quite a bit more, appreciate the history, and also appreciate the tasting. And I won't spoil it, but it really, I think it teaches you how to taste whiskey in a way. And even if you think, oh God, whiskey, I don't like whiskey. I was like that before. And the way that they sort of educate you on it and how to consume it in a thoughtful way is great. And it's a really fun attraction. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we're visiting, I'll let you pronounce the next thing on the slide there.
We'll go to Kilmainham Jail, and Tom had spoken last week about the importance of the General Post Office, the main building in Dublin along O'Connell Street, where the 1916 Rising, the leaders in 1916 Rising, when the First World War was going on, took strategic parts in Dublin and had a 7-day campaign to end British rule. But it was doomed to failure, and they knew it was because they were sitting targets. And there's a lot of theories about a blood sacrifice, the martyrs. It was done Easter. We think of Christ and the resurrection. But the leaders were taken away and imprisoned, and then many of them executed in Kilmainham Jail. We will go and see that jail. We will see where some of the actual prison, the cells that some of them were in, and one Irish poet and writer who was executed was able to get married the night before. And we'll see the letter that he wrote to the last words to his bride, and we'll see the courtyard where they were shot and executed. It's very powerful. It's very, very moving, and that's not too far from the Guinness factory. And if we get time that day, we'll also go and visit maybe the Brazen Head. Reputedly, there's a lot of places claim they're the oldest Irish bar in Ireland, but it certainly dates from the 1600s, and it's an old-fashioned bar with Irish music and a lot of. I mean, there's for better or worse, there's a lot of what I would describe as trendy pubs in Ireland with TVs, but a lot of the older pubs don't have televisions, and I kind of like that. I like when the conversations still alive if our heads not buried in our cell phones, but music, conversation. The crack, as they say in Ireland, CRAIC, and we're all going to have good crack, and it's not the American crack or what we associate. Crack means a good time, CRAIC. So we're going for the crack, a good time in Ireland, and just sitting around listening. Maybe an Irish session, as Jen so eloquently put it, we can do that. So I'm excited to be there with you and just be with you in this whole experience.
I definitely am signing up for our excursion to the Brazen Head. That is, before it's really authentic, beautiful, ancient bar. I guess I'll call it ancient. I'm not sure if it's the right term, but right historical term. And what I'll say about Dublin is the thing I like is that we're doing Dublin at the end because in every trip I've ever done to Ireland, I do it at the beginning, and it's sort of when you're kind of really tired. So I'm excited that we'll be acclimated and we'll be still have our energy on to experience this great city. What I love about it is there's cosmopolitan aspects to Dublin. There's great dining. There's beautiful, delicious cultural food that you can find, non-Irish food. I mean, it has a great dining scene. If folks are interested in, having things that aren't the traditional Irish fare. but also there's a lot of authentic and beautiful pubs and pub culture, which is so different than here in the United States. You know, truly the pub is a gathering place for the community. You'll find families in pubs, young people in pubs, older people in pubs. So that's what I love, is that everyone belongs at the pub. It's not just like in America, where if you went to a pub here, you would find young people at night. In Ireland, you'll find a mix of all types of people in the pubs, which is great. And of course, the great traditional music. Sadly, on Wednesday, we'll be traveling back to the airport and to return home to Boston with our direct flight. The nice thing is there's customs in Ireland, United States Customs. So you do all that before you leave. It makes getting back to Boston a lot quicker. I know that because I just picked up I have an international student living with us this year from Brazil. And when I picked her up, her flight got in at 7:30. She didn't come out till 11:15.
Wow.
So it takes quite a long time if you're doing the normal international customs, but it's not like that when you go to Ireland, because it's such a frequent place that American travelers go to. So you do all that in Ireland, which is great. And so just some of the logistics that we will have a pre-departure orientation just to go over all the logistics with Paul and I think our travel coordinator will attend that as well. So you'll have any of your questions can be answered at that session. The trip does include, of course, the round trip direct flights, exclusive transport by luxury motor coach with an experienced Irish driver and guide. Will be picked up at the airport and dropped off at the airport in Dublin. And it includes the prices on the twin bedded rooms or double rooms with private baths for 7 nights. It does include 8 full breakfasts. So basically every day breakfast is included, which is a nice feature. Irish breakfasts, if you haven't had one, they're very hearty. They include all sorts of delicious treats like blood sausage, which you'll learn more about when you get to Ireland. It includes 4 dinners. And then it includes admission fees to all the places that are mentioned in our materials and that we mentioned here in this presentation today. So all of those are included in the price. The cost is $3,460. And there is a single room supplement for $950. I have had a few people reach out to me, women who are wanting to go and are open to sharing a room with someone. So if that's you and you're interested in the trip and you don't want to pay the single room supplement, just let me know. And I'd be happy to introduce you to someone that's in the same position as you. Of course, I will take no responsibility to how you get along with your person. So you'll have to use your due diligence in that scenario. And the price includes all the things that are listed here on the slides. 7 nights hotel. Usually these trips are only 6 nights. So I'm really excited that we get the 7 full nights in the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. Okay, what do we have next? Oh, and then this is just a little bit more information about the course that Paul is teaching here in Senior College, starting on October 3rd. And so if you're not a member of Senior College, you might want to consider joining this semester to have that experience. And if you have any questions on how to become a member of Senior College, you can just reach out to me, Jennifer Reid. My email is j5reid, R-E-I-D, @bridgew.edu. And I can provide the link for how to book. So right now, if you're interested in coming on the trip, there is a $250 non-refundable deposit. You can pay that now via the link. I can send you that link directly. I will say that and then you'll just be expected to pay, over the course of time. And there's a due date, which I believe is in February. And again, if you're interested in get you all those specific information, and you'll pay the majority of the portion to CIE Tours, and then about $800 you'll pay directly to Bridgewater State University. But for anyone that's seriously interested in the trip, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to go over all those details with you individually. And now, if anyone has any questions, I see Tom has his hand raised. So we'll start with Tom and then we'll go over to Kim.
Is there a minimum and a maximum number of people?
Yeah, so 30 is the number. I feel very confident that we'll get to that number. So we're in good track right now with that. And the maximum is, I'm not really too worried about that, but I think it's like around 35. I know that I think the bus, the motor coach seats about 40, but we really want to make it as comfortable for people as possible so that you know how it is. We don't want to sit anyone like in the back near the restroom. So I think our maximum is 35, 34, 35.
Is there any thoughts to not providing, but I guess providing in a way, limo service either from Bridgewater campus or wherever to the Boston, because Boston Airport is an awful airport for parking.
Yes, you're not the first person to ask that question. I think that's something I will definitely explore. I will price out and then ask the group if they'd be interested in that. And then it would be like an additional fee, whatever to have like a bus or whatever take us. So yeah, I will explore that, price it out, and then I would leave it sort of to a majority if the majority of the group is interested, then we could certainly do that as well.
Yeah, so, my experience was that a limo was about the same price as parking in Boston for a week.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
wash.
Get very expensive. Thank you, Tom. Those are both good questions. Have that on my to-do list. Kim.
Yes, when is the $250 due? And number two, I know the 250 is not revocable, not given back, but if you have a health issue and had to cancel the trip, how do they handle that?
Yeah, so CIE Tours provides optional insurance that we strongly encourage everyone to purchase. So the insurance, I can't tell you the specific price because it's based on your age. So it would be a matter of you going in and going through the steps on the CIE website, and then it would calculate your age. We did it with Cara, and it was like, I think, I don't recall specifically, it was like maybe a couple $100, I think, for Cara. I think it was like 200. Do you remember Cara?
I think mine was around 100.
Oh yeah, she's wicked young though. So like, let's not base it on her. She's in her 20s. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that. So I think it would be different for the rest of us. But we would strongly encourage, because then you're covered for everything, well, you'd have to look at the insurance policy, obviously do your own due diligence, but I believe for any health issues, you would get everything back that you put into it. So you'd obviously want to do that to protect your investment in the trip. The due date is actually not until February that you have to have everything paid. But again, if you're interested in booking, I can give you those specific details, but you have time to spread it out and pay over time. Okay, I see Stephen has his hand raised, and then Gloria. Oh, Stephen, we can't hear you. I can see that you're unmuted, but I can't actually hear you speaking. Stephen, we'll go to Gloria and you can play around with your audio if you want. And if not, type it in the chat and we'll answer it that way. Gloria. Oh, you're muted.
What is the current currency in Northern Ireland?
Good question. I'll leave that.
Yeah, British. We use British sterling in the north of Ireland. British sterling. So that's a great question, Gloria. So you use British sterling and you use the euro in the Republic. So I don't know what works best for you, but what I do is I contact my bank before I leave. I tell them that I'm going to be on these dates a certain country, and then I just use my bank machine to get money out. I find that the exchange rate varies, but it's it's not going to go up and down that much. And then your bank might charge you $5 for each withdraw. That way, I don't want to have a lot of cash on it. Most banks will allow you to withdraw maybe up to $500 a day. But I also just use my credit card a lot, and then I can pay things. I see it, and you can get it converted into dollars. So I tend to use my card a lot, not have a lot of cash. Also nice to have cash, but we're becoming more and more a cashless society. But American Express, sometimes American Express, a few places don't take American Express. Just to be, if that's your main credit card, I would bring another one with you, but just use your plastic, and then if you need to get money out, you can just do that. But that's a good question. Yeah, you don't want to use euros in the north, you'll lose it, and you don't want to use English sterling in the south because you'll lose money. So just to be aware of, that's a great question. Anyway,
really good question. And I will say, you know, I went to London in October, and I've been to Ireland many times. Every time I go and I get out a bunch of cash when I get there, and it's so, Ireland more so than America is a cashless kind of place. You could really probably do the entire trip without any cash, I would say. Every place takes it, they're used to it, it's tap and go. So just, you know, consider that you likely won't need a lot of cash, and you can get it there certainly using your bank card or whatever you feel comfortable with. The other point is, I did want, my partner is a big American Express person, and that does sometimes come up as a little bit of an issue. So something to think about if that's your only credit card. Go ahead, Gloria.
And also, please notify your bank and your credit card companies that you're traveling, because I went for Megan's wedding and I went into the airport to use the ATM, and I was declined. And I had all of these bills to pay over there. So I had to wait 3 days before everything could be cleared. So please let people know you're traveling.
Yep, great point. I've always done that. I have Citizens Bank, and I just to let them know, I go into the bank the day before and I make the teller write it on my account, and I've never had any issues. But yeah, that's a really important point. Thanks, Gloria.
And on the currency thing too, we use a lot of coins in Ireland. We would have dollar bills here. We have either a euro, £1 euro, or a £2 euro. And the same in the north of Ireland, you have pound coins. A pound, think of a pound being like a dollar or a £2 coin. So one of the things I do in Ireland, I have what I describe as a little man purse. It's a little purse. I zip it up because you put a lot of coins in your pocket. If you've got loose pockets, they fall out everywhere. So if you can get a little order online, or get a little coin, you know, a little coin purse. I have one, and I love using it, and I keep your coins in that. And also on the phone system in Ireland. Now, I don't know what your carrier is. I'm with AT&T. I pay $12 a day when I go abroad, and that's whether I make one text or one phone call or 100 phone calls. But I get that automatically is on my phone. It knows when I travel abroad. But that is great, because you don't want to be dealing around with roaming. But most carriers will charge. Some carriers are actually free, but whoever you've got, AT&T or whatever it is, make sure that you get the international plan when you go, because you want to be able to. People can text me. It's like I'm an American. Text me, can call me, can message me, can WhatsApp me. It's nothing more frustrating than you're somewhere and your phone doesn't work. And I could show you when we go over there. If you do make a local call, you have to put the code for the Republic of Ireland, the code of the North. You probably won't have to do that much, but I use it if I'm booking taxis or I'm calling and booking a reservation. You have to put it, and you can do that all from WhatsApp. You put a code in, but I would say get an international phone, because, bring a little portable charger. I have a portable charger, which it sticks on the back of my phone, because I don't like my phone to be dead in emergency or certain situations. So, just make sure you got the international phone call. If you do like the text, or you like to be contactable by people, if you're taking videos of stuff, it will eat up your battery very quickly. So, make sure, and we'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll all get this. You have to have an adapter for it's 3 prongs in Ireland. We've only got 2. So you get a little adapter. I usually have 2, so you can charge your phone, charge your stuff at night when you're sleeping, keep your phone charged up,
Great points there, Paul. Thank you for that. And I see in the chat, Anne is asking if we could delay departure from Dublin and have a few extra days. Yes, you could certainly do that. There is flexibility. It would involve you booking your flight on your own. Just contact me, Anne. I'd be happy to walk you through how we would handle that. Around gratuities, that's a good question, Mary. I believe all the gratuities are built in for the tour, but I would have to double check on the host, the driver of the actual I believe it's included, but I will check. That's a good, so Mary, definitely send me a message offline about that. But it's different than America. You don't need to have a whole heck of a lot of cash to think about, like tipping servers and things like that. It can all be done on your card, you know, if you're dining out at lunch. And again, it's a, you know, different tipping culture, which we'll talk a little bit more when we do that pre-trip orientation, and we'll make sure we have all those questions. You know, we can talk about the specifics for that. And then did Stephen go away? I know he had his hand up, but I don't think I see him anymore. Stephen, if you're still here, put your question in the chat or certainly send me an email. But I do want to be mindful of the time. I will say it's going to be fun. There'll be a lot of laughs. And it also will be a nice complement to the great things that people are doing with Paul in his class in senior college. So we'll have fun alongside with the history and culture of the great Irish literature traditions that there are, both modern and more historical as well. Yes, update your passport. Good point. And so now would be the time, if you're thinking of coming, to pull out your passport and make sure it's still active and that it doesn't expire when we're away, or all those kinds of things as well. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll probably have some more events as we get a little closer, but now would be the time to book. We want to make sure that people reserve their spots. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. Paul, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much again. This is wonderful. Thank you. It's nice to meet her, and I look forward to seeing you in our book club, and also hopefully in Ireland too before too long.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.